If you've ever been truly alone, not alone in your room, but alone in a place where the world could kill you, you might recognize this feeling. You're exhausted, cold, dehydrated. Your thoughts are slowing down, and then you sense it. Not a sound, not a footprint, just the certainty that someone is there, walking beside you, close enough to reach out and touch. People describe it as calm, quiet, helpful, a presence that doesn't ask questions, a companion that appears exactly when you're about to break. And here's the unsettling part. This has happened to enough people, across enough disasters, that it has a name. They call it the third man effect. And once you understand it, you start seeing it everywhere. In polar expeditions, shipwrecks, plane crashes, wars, and mountains. So, what is it? A guardian angel? A hallucination? A hidden survival mechanism built into the human brain? Because whatever it is, it shows up when you need it most. And it might be doing something far more important than comforting you. The phrase third man comes from accounts where two people are struggling to survive, and both independently feel a third presence with them, not always visible, sometimes not even a voice, more like a social fact your brain suddenly accepts. I'm not alone. In modern psychology and neurology, it overlaps with something called a felt presence, a vivid sensation that another being is nearby, even when no one is there. It's not the same as daydreaming. People report it as realer than imagination, as if your nervous system has switched modes, and the reports often share the same eerie details. The presence feels protective, not threatening. It appears during extreme stress, exposure, starvation, isolation, trauma. It can provide direction. Keep moving. Turn here. Don't sit down. It vanishes the moment you're safe, or the moment you're not. Which raises the question, why would the brain do this at all? Hold that thought. One of the most cited accounts comes from the Antarctic, from Ernest Shackleton's Endurance expedition. In 1916, after their ship was crushed by ice, Shackleton and his men were forced into an impossible trek. Starvation, freezing wind, endless white. At one point, Shackleton later wrote that during a brutal march, when three men were traveling together, each of them felt like there was a fourth, not behind them, not ahead, with them, keeping pace. He didn't describe it as madness. He described it like a fact that quietly settled over the group. We are being accompanied. That's the signature of the third man effect. It doesn't feel like fantasy. It feels like a new layer of reality. Once you start collecting these stories, they pile up. Mountain climbers in whiteouts who follow a presence step by step to safety. Shipwreck survivors on rafts who talk to someone that isn't there. Solo sailors who feel a crewmate moving around the boat at night. Even in modern disasters, people have described moments like this: a calm voice, a companion, a sense of being guided, right at the edge of collapse. Author John Geiger popularized the term third man factor by compiling accounts like these across decades. And the striking part isn't just that people report it, it's that many describe it as the reason they lived. They say things like, I would have laid down, I would have stopped, I would have panicked, but it kept me moving. So if this is just a hallucination, it's a very specific kind, one that behaves like a survival tool. Which brings us to the brain. Humans are social animals so deep in our design that loneliness isn't just emotional, it's biological. Your brain regulates fear, pain, and decision-making differently when you believe someone is with you. Even the belief of support can change what your body can endure. Now imagine the most dangerous situation possible. You are alone, and you are failing. Your attention is narrowing. Your will is collapsing. your body is begging you to stop. In that moment, the most effective intervention might not be a complex plan. It might be something simpler, a companion, a witness, a guide. Because once you feel someone is present, your brain can shift into a social mode. You keep performing, you keep moving, you keep behaving like survival still matters. It's like the mind is borrowing an ancient rule. Don't abandon the group. Don't collapse in front of someone. Keep going. Except in this case, the group is invented. Neurologists have studied sensations that match these reports. In certain brain conditions, like Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, severe sleep deprivation, or extreme stress, people can experience a presence hallucination, the feeling that someone is nearby, sometimes just out of sight. And here's where it gets fascinating. Neuroscientist Olaf Blanke and colleagues have shown that disrupting the brain's body mapping systems, especially around the temporoparietal junction, can produce experiences like feeling a shadowy person nearby, sensing a double, believing someone is standing behind you. In one well-known line of research, similar sensations were even induced experimentally, using controlled sensor-emotor conflicts, essentially confusing the brain's model of where my body ends and where the world begins. The takeaway isn't that every third man story has the same cause. It's that your brain contains machinery capable of generating a presence, especially when perception, movement, and stress are all destabilized. The third man effect shows up in conditions that reliably distort cognition. Hypothermia slows thinking, alters perception, creates dreamlike states. Hypoxia, thin air, impairs judgment and can cause hallucinations. Starvation changes attention, mood, and impulse control. Sleep deprivation can produce vivid voices and presences. Isolation removes external reality checking. Trauma can trigger dissociation, a mental separation from unbearable experience. You can think of it as the brain's navigation system losing signal. When the normal model of reality becomes unreliable, the brain starts improvising, not randomly, but in ways that preserve action. And a helper presence is a powerful improvisation. It doesn't require food. It doesn't require rescue. It doesn't require certainty. It only requires you to take the next step. A lot of people hear these stories and reduce them to something sentimental. See, you're never alone. But that's not what makes this phenomenon terrifying or important. The third man doesn't show up to make you feel better. It shows up to make you functional. Because in the moments where it appears, feeling better is irrelevant. The environment doesn't care how you feel. Cold, altitude, hunger, open ocean. They only respond to one thing: movement, decisions, endurance. So maybe the third man is not a comforting ghost. Maybe it's a tool the brain uses when the self is failing, a way to outsource courage to an imagined other. And that leaves one last uncomfortable question. When people say the third man saved them, what saved them? Was it an external presence? Or was it the last remaining part of their own mind, splitting off a companion because solitude was too dangerous? If the brain can generate a guide under enough pressure, that means something about you is negotiable. The self you experience every day, singular, continuous, private, might be less solid than it feels. And in the worst moments, when your life depends on it, your mind may do the most human thing imaginable. It creates someone else, so you don't have to survive alone. Because maybe the deepest survival mechanism in our species isn't strength. Maybe it's companionship, even if the brain has to invent it.